Welcome back, everybody. Captain Mortgage here at the CPS Investment Advisors Studios, here to talk about all things Florida Tropics Academy. We call these your tropical tidbits. It's a behind-the-scenes look at really what goes on at the Academy, and we just kind of open up the discussion. We have our director, our club director, Lucas Texeira, back in the hot seat, and of course, our president, Michael Riskin, here with us. So let's just get right after. We had a pretty good discussion on our last podcast, kind of about player development. So I kind of want to pick that up because it was very intriguing. We got a lot of good feedback about it. So let's talk about that. What is the ideal path? Because there's so much information out there, especially on Instagram and TikTok for parents like me to consume, and they think I'm doing it right. In a lot of ways, we're doing it wrong. You talked last episode about the importance of understanding timing. That in the beginning, it's not about the winning; it's about the techniques, and then the winning should come later on down the path. So, get into that a little bit more, if you don't mind, Lucas, and kind of help the parents out there understand these are the things you need to be focusing on for U8, U9, U10, and then when you transition to the U11, U12, and then go to 11, B11. This is kind of what that path and trajectory looks like.
Yeah, perfect. The first thing we said is the technical aspect, right? So kids need to technically sound. In order to do that, it's about how many touches you get on the ball, right? So
Right.
if you're getting more touches, you're getting more comfortable with the ball. If you're getting comfortable with the ball, you're naturally going to be a better player, right? So how can you optimize that? More touches on the ball. There's a lot of in America. There's a concept of like getting touches on the ball. It's about private sessions. Private sessions are great, but that's not the only way, right? So it's getting the kids to have the love of the game and just kicking the ball and dribbling by themselves and being creative and being open to try different things. So this is the number one thing. And in the club, we value technical training. So every session, every week, you're going to see all the kids, all the age groups, technical training. So we focus a lot on that. But technical training alone, that doesn't mean anything. Why? Because you can be technically sound player, but if you don't understand about the game, that doesn't matter, right? Because the game, it's an open game. There's a lot of variables in the game, and if you don't understand about positioning, where you're supposed to be, how you're supposed to pass, where's the pressure coming, where it's supposed to be, where's the open space. So there's so many variables in the game
Right.
that it's so important to understand tactics and also decision making, right? So we try to guide our players to understand the game, and understanding is not just in the sessions. It's like watching games, following players, right? I know that you told me today, and that's pretty cool. You said that your kid is like his hairstyle. It's based on a soccer player, right?
100%.
Who is that?
Holland, Man City.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that's why we want to see it. Why? Because he follows the player, and now he's like, okay, he does that. I want to do that. I want to emulate that, right? So once you have that passion for it, you understand about the game, right? I remember, like, I'm a defender. I used to watch a lot of defenders playing, and I could care less about the forwards, right? Just
Right.
because I want to learn that position, right? So understanding the game is so important, and like I said, technically sound great, but if you don't know about the game, that doesn't matter, right? So, and now the third component is, okay, you're technically sound player, you understand about the game, now you don't compete, right? So that doesn't matter as well. So we got to put those three things together, right? The technical side, the understanding about the game, and then go at it, right? Compete, be aggressive.
Right. So the word compete, that means a lot of different things to a lot of different parents and
Right.
players. So just for clarity, because sometimes as a parent, we'll be on the sidelines and you'll hear that cliche phrase, be aggressive. To a kid, some may interpret that as physical or pushy, and then the game kind of takes on a whole new thing. So from your seat, you have a lot more experience than all of us combined sitting at this table. What is it in your mind? What is compete like to a kid? Is it desire? Is it grit? I mean, what is that?
Yes, grit and desire are part of it, but it's not just that. It's about, like, how can you be proactive on the field? So basically, you don't wait for things to happen. You make it happen, right? So I remember that I know a lot of players that they don't like the physicality, but they get to the ball first.
Right.
So they avoid the contact, right? So every time that someone is going, like they get there first, and they don't need to go in a 50-50 because they have so much desire for the ball that they get it, pass it when the defender is coming at them, they're already gone,
Right.
right? But this is a physical game as well. that the physical is part of it. So you got to be comfortable with the, you got to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right.
Right.
Right. Because people are going to touch you. It's going to, I tell my players all the time, Mike is a proof of that, right, Mike? So it's a battle.
It's a battle.
Yeah.
It's a battle. It's a fight.
And
So-
I can say, as somebody that has coached alongside Lucas for 3 or 4 years now, and I've heard this from a new parent this year on our team. He told me, I can't believe how tired my daughter is at the end of the session. And so it's again, it goes back to the preparedness of the session, where we expect the practices need to be way harder than the game. And we're expecting our players to go at it more than 100% during the session.
Right.
So that session needs to be, again, the player needs to be proactive, aggressive, not just on the physical side, but not just, sometimes they just want to hide sometimes, or you can tell the session's going, or you're doing something, and you can really tell they're not going 100%, kind of jogging sometimes. And so it's really staying on them to give it their all, and with focus too. I think that's, especially as we get older, that focus, they got a lot of other things going on. So the mental part of the game too is huge.
No, that's great. I think the biggest takeaway I got, because again, I've never heard it described that way before, but the proactive word, I think that's probably the best way to sum that up.
That's right.
You say, just be first the ball, be proactive, not reactive.
Even off the ball, competing is about what are you willing to do in order to win.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So you got to be proactive. Your teammates is in trouble over there. Are you willing to move off the ball to create a passing lane? Right. So a lot of players, what they do, like you're not being aggressive when you're just standing out there and like waiting for your teammates to figure stuff out. And like, what can you do to help them out? Right. So I think being aggressive is not just, I think Americans, maybe we need to change the word. Right,
that's a good point.
Because being aggressive over here, what the kids actually understand is like, okay, I need to bump this kid. I need to hit.
I mean, you're talking to a culture that American football, NFL, that was kind of in your mind.
Right.
That's kind of what people are used to when they think of sports. And so I think, again, for me, not growing up in a soccer background, I think it's a valid point.
Yeah, the proactive word, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that's great.
That's huge. And I always cringe if someone on our team says, they're not passing me the ball, I'm not getting the ball. I'm like, because I know he's about to let him have it and say, if you're not getting the ball, that's your fault.
Right.
Like, you need to demand the ball, or make yourself go get the ball. Right.
Yeah. What surprised me about the sport, again, coming from someone who, I was never into soccer growing up. I really wasn't. My taste of soccer has been my son's passion for the game. And ironically, now I'm passionate about the game. But I'm always amazed at how fluid this game is. It's a continuous flow, and it is constant mistakes and recovery. And I don't think kids, especially youth, understand that the mistakes are part of the game. So how do you touch on toughening up the mental side of the youth? Because again, a lot of American athletes are afraid of failure, but that is part of the growth, and that is the game.
Yeah, this is probably the main thing.
This is Lucas's life mission right
now,
by the way.
Yeah, it's my life mission, because I think, kids we're taking away the failure from kids. And once they don't learn that skill set for their lives, I mean, they're going to fail, right? Like we said about let's play the long game, right? So you got to teach them the right things right now so they can be successful when they're further in life, right? So, and I think there's the way we parenting our kids right now, and we're doing a big study about that, understanding, like I said, the landscape. Because in order to change something, you need to understand why this is happening, right? So, and one of the main reasons is that we are trying to overprotect our kids so much and take the pain out of them, take the failure, take every time that they fall, we're going to be there for them before they even fall, right? So, and we're trying to now show that we need to make our training sessions hard for them and understand that they can overcome those things, right? And all the failure, all the defeats that we get, and all the hard moments, all the times that you're on the bench, and how valuable is that, right? For a kid to understand that okay, I can lose here, but I'm going to keep on going, right? I need to get better. Oh, I need to see this in a different way. So if you're able to see those things, it changes your life, right? So that's why in the club is so important, the mental side of it, and understand that it's not just my job. It's not just the parents' job. It's not just the player's job. Like if we work together, we can be better, and we can help those kids to grow.
Yeah, no, that's great. Culture, we as a group talk a lot about culture, but for those listening, One thing that I found that's very unique with the Tropics Academy, and I tell people all the time, if we're out and when soccer comes up, and it's always the question, well, where do you play? With the Tropics Academy. And I always follow up with it. It's just different, and it's hard to describe to people what it is that makes us different, but it is. There's a vibe and there's a culture with the parents, with the coaches, with the directors. It's just a different culture. So being those that are the leaders and really are the driving forces behind that culture. I mean, what is the culture that you're trying to capture? What is the expectations from the parents, and why does it all just work?
Yeah, well, well, I appreciate the feedback that there's a viewpoint that it all works because it's certainly it's a day to day work in progress, and I think it goes back. I look at the way we run CPS Investment Advisors. Um, I was blessed to have worked for a few business owners in my life that always told me always hire people smarter than you are, right? And that's sometimes that's humbling yourself, being able to listen to criticism, being able to listen to folks. And so I think we've definitely developed this culture. It's such a weird dynamic between club and parent. I mean, you can't let the parents run the roost, so to speak, but you also need to be respectful that, hey, you know what? The parents see things too in a different viewpoint. And not just that, some parents are dying to help. I think one of my frustrations in the past was we had a ton of parents that wanted to help. I can help. I can do this, right? And so you do have to assess, well, is this going to be good help or bad help? But Captain, you're the perfect example of, you know what? We had a social media account that was pretty good. That person left and wasn't doing it anymore, and you came to us and said, hey, can I pick this up? And, Lucas knows how to do some of this, and he was doing it, but it's like, you know what? Hey, no, if you want to volunteer and do it and help us out, yes, yes, please. How can you help us? Right. And we have other parents that come forward all the time. And so I think if we're listening, we're being humble, we're saying, okay, if somebody has an expertise in an area, then it can't just be the Lucas show or the Riskin show. It's all of our, let's combine. And so I think that culture, the culture of inclusivity, understanding, respect too. I think that's one of our key ones. There's parents get out of control, kids
We
get out
do.
of control, and something you hate having to kick a family out of a club, but we said early on that and even if it's the best, and we've had situations before, we've had one of the best players on a team and no longer was a fit, let's say, because of behavior or the parent, whatever the reason was.
Right.
And you have to, and a lot of clubs will tolerate that because of how good the player is. And we said from day one, like one bad player can ruin the experience of the 17 other, because we look at it as families. So if we have 17 great families, and when we're when we're doing tryouts, when we're doing talking to play, the family's a part of the mix. I mean, it's not just the player. So it's being very deliberate in sticking to that message that we want good families, we want good kids. Um, Not everybody's perfect, so we'll work with you. We'll if stuff happens, it's not a hey one striking out certainly, but if it gets to a point where we need to make a change, then unfortunately, we make those decisions for the betterment of the club and the community.
No, that's great.
And I think just to piggyback on Mike's saying, is trying to create a community. We all
Right.
want to be part of like a great community we're proud of,
Absolutely.
right? So we don't want to be a part of a community that is failing or like we don't treat people right. So the thing that I'm most proud of like our club is just the fact that when we enter in the fields, we all have the enjoyment to be there.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? And we like to be in the presence of each other. You know what I mean? And the clubs, the coaches are happy to be there. The players are happy to be there. The parents are happy to be there, and we all part of it. You know what I mean? So there was like a difference on like, okay, the parents stay here. The directors stay here, and there's no connection.
Right.
So we need to create that connection and understand that we all part of the same thing.
Yeah, and we need to be the leaders too. So it does start from Lucas and myself too. So like you said, I'm in the background, but it mostly starts with Lucas. Like his behavior matters, and he's very communicative and deliberate with. And I've been in a lot of the coaches meetings, and there's no misunderstanding about how they are supposed to act and coach and communicate with their families. They're not perfect, but there's no misunderstanding there. And from there, the parents have the same message, right? And so it starts from the top, and so when we get to a game, you know, our expectation is our parents are not yelling at the referees, they're not yelling at the
Right.
players, they're not yelling at the other players. Of course, you get excited in the moments and whatnot, but again, just that's another piece of our culture of that respect and professionalism that we expect from everybody.
One thing that and I'm very vocal about it. I'm not shy of saying this when people ask about what's it like playing for the academy. I said the soccer's phenomenal. The expertise, the coaches, absolutely. Those are easy reasons to be part of this academy. But my biggest reason, if I'm being 100% honest, is I have a young man. I'm trying to raise him to be a respectful and a decent young man, and I need good role models outside of me because eventually my voice is going to get lost on him. And he is passionate about soccer, so he spends a significant amount of time around that coach. I need the coach to be a good role model, and you cannot find better role models in this club. I know because I've looked. And they're phenomenal men. They're good leaders. They're respectful, but they install values that I genuinely appreciate as a parent. And that's a testament. Again, it goes back to the leadership because you're the ones making those decisions and bringing them on. So hats off. We'll wrap things up with the future. Let's get into future talk. So we're in our third season. One thing a lot of people don't know, and there was a lot of confusion, especially last year, is how you got your name. So a lot of people thought that the Florida Tropics professional team here in the city was the academy. And what a lot of people don't know is that there is a separation there. And I think that's important for people to understand because last year, when the pro team decided that it was going to take a pause, everybody assumed that meant the academy was going to shut down. And so I want to give you an opportunity to one, set the record straight. And then two, what is your vision for the future of this club? Are you going to be a multiple team per age group club? Are you going for more a niche experience or what does that look like?
Yeah, good questions. The first one, I think, just to make it very clear, like we share the same name, but we just choose different separate entities, right? So we're not the same the business. So the pro side is one thing; they're run by a different persons, and we as a club, we are directed by Mike. We have a board,
We have a
right?
full board of directors. Yeah, we're
Mhm.
nonprofit.
We are nonprofit and we run things separately. So as much as we love the name, and I played for the Tropics, and most of our coaches played for the Tropics, but we can't control what the pro side's going to do it, right? But
Right.
the youth side, we share the name, we have the rights of the name, but it's something that every decision that we do, and we talk a lot about that, is basically like what is best for our players,
Mhm.
right? So we love the name, and we have a big passion for the name, but at the end of the day, we don't know what the future holds, right?
Right.
So what we want to do is like if we have a great opportunity to that's going to benefit our players, maybe we can talk about those things, right,
That's right.
Mike? So we're completely open on like if we have opportunities they're going to benefit our players, let's jump on it, right?
Right.
Even though that like I'd rather stay with the name because I love the name, but this is not just about me,
Gotcha.
right? It's about the players. And when we talked about the players, then your second question is about how can we create the best product for our players. And what's happening in America right now is that, and this is a pretty good thing in America, but it's also a bad thing because everything is a business,
Yes.
right? So we treat this as a business, but it's a nonprofit that our main goal is to develop players. It's not to grow a business. So we not focus on that. So numbers is not our number one thing over here. So we not focus on having five teams, two teams in every age group. No, we focus on establish one strong team in every age group, develop those players, provide best coaching, fields, facilities, tournaments, and all the infrastructure that requires, right? Because we don't understand that having multiple teams, we can provide the same type of service for
That's right.
everybody.
I think the best example, even this year, in our, again, this is only our third year, but we've through our successes and our relationships with some of the other big clubs in the state, um, we've had some opportunities come our way that have been a result of that. And there was a just small example this past year. We had a very good opportunity, a great opportunity for one of our teams to play at a very high league that normally we might not have access to as a smaller independent club. Um, and I think and unfortunately we didn't have the player pool in that age group nor did we have the quality of coach that we were looking for to be able to coach it in that league at that level available. And so while we could have scrapped together 18 players and
Right.
a coach and inserted ourselves there and said, "Oh, we're doing this," we made the decision that we were not going to do it. So we actually passed up that opportunity. And believe me, it was a very good opportunity.
Right.
But we felt like it would have lessened the quality product that we're trying to build here, and that wasn't part of our. That's not what we're trying to do. It's all about starting with the coaching,
Right.
and then filling in the best possible
Right.
players and families we can.
We even have a lot of opportunities to create multiple teams and age groups doing tryouts.
That's true. That's right.
And we make the call of like not creating those extra teams because we didn't think we were able to provide the same type of quality service for the members. So that doesn't make sense for us just having the numbers and collecting that money if we're not going to provide the same type of service from the other team. Right?
And we get a lot of pressure. I mean, 45 kids try out, and they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, they're going to have two. Oh, they're going to have two teams." And we're like, "Well, no, we're not," because again, the expectation from the family is that they're going to get that experience.
Yes.
Well, if we create another experience, then it's going to be completely different.
No, and I think that's huge, and especially for people to understand on the outside as they're going through this soccer journey as parents. Because me as a parent, we've had opportunities at other clubs, but it may have been in the B or the C or the whatever team. But you just know from being around it long enough, and I'm not knocking other clubs because everybody has their own way of doing things. But I know with this experience, my kid's going to get hands-on experience coaching and training and development that will serve him well for the second part of his soccer journey if he decides to stay with it.
Right.
So,
And not just that, just touching this point over here is that the fact that we're creating a team as well is that these kids cannot take for granted.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah,
like when we
that's a
said
good
about
point.
competing, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So you don't have your spot guaranteed next season.
No, that's huge.
You know what I mean?
That
So
goes
if you're
back
not
to the
willing to
failure
put,
we were talking
That's
about.
right.
if you're not willing to put the work throughout the season, that's what we try to tell our players. Don't take it for granted.
Right.
And when you get out of your comfort zone and actually going at it every day, you don't have to fear anything.
Yep.
Right. But once you don't do what it takes, your spot is not guaranteed. Right. So we want to cultivate that
Yep.
and create that environment that makes kids grow. You know what I mean?
And I think, and just one of these life lesson things, and I've seen it with Coach Lucas, is that a lot of times, a player may be a little better than another player, but if we know that player B, who might not quite be at the level A player right now, but this player's showing up every day, practice hard,
Mm-hmm.
Is getting it. We know they're doing stuff on the outside, and this one is just coasting. But next year at tryouts, we're taking player B.
Yeah.
Not even a question if the work ethic and the mentality is not there.
Yeah, I mean that's just a life skill. I mean, and that's the cool thing about soccer is a lot of these lessons, they apply to life. I mean, we've lived long enough to understand that you put a talented guy in the room and a guy who works hard. I'll take the guy who works hard every
Right.
time. Absolutely,
That's
no
right.
question about it. So that's all the time we have for this episode. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you are, make sure you follow us on Instagram. That's Florida Tropics Academy. That's our handle. Big shout out to our sponsors. Of course, that would be Low Payment Kings, Pulte Homes, 1961. If you're looking for some good eats in downtown Lakeland, of course, this fantastic studio has been provided by CPS Investment Advisors, Bond Clement, and of course, that Captain Mortgage guy. If you're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you know where to find me. That's it for now. Once again, this is the Florida Tropics Academy, and these have been your Tropical Tidbits.